Yes, good morning, Wales. Every morning here on BBC Radio Wales. This is the phone-in. The English Defence League, the group against what they describe as the Islamification of Great Britain, could be about to enter mainstream British politics. The EDL has told this programme they are thinking of becoming a political party. So would you vote for the EDL? The number to call is 03700 100 110. It's your call. You can also email via the website. You can text me 81012. Send me a tweet via Twitter at JasonPhonein. Tommy Robinson, co-leader of the English Defence League, is here alongside Professor Sir Dayan Hopkin, political commentator. And let's now talk to Mona Bayoumi, who's a Muslim barrister in Cardiff. Mona, hello, good afternoon to you, welcome.
Good afternoon.
What do you think of the EDL possibly entering mainstream British politics?
Well, I have to say, it's certainly a worrying thing to hear. It's all well and good for political groups to have fair representation and to have an opportunity to say what they believe. But bear in mind that this is a group of essentially sort of individuals from various different backgrounds with one sole purpose, and that is to ensure that the Quran is banned from the United Kingdom and that Muslims are, in the way they describe, properly integrated into British society. It's not really a political group as such, as far as I'm concerned. It is simply a group of people with an individual belief. And that belief seems to be against British values, against the political system that we have at the moment, and against what the British government has always endorsed as individuals' human rights. We have freedom of expression, freedom of association, freedom of religion. Now, it can't be the case that a group like this are permitted to put forward their views, that essentially mean that an entire ethnic minority group is to be banned from the United Kingdom. But
Mona, Tommy Robinson, who's here on the programme, has said earlier that he feels alienated by the British political system.
Well, you'll have to forgive me because I haven't actually had the opportunity to listen in on the programme. I've only joined sort of in the past couple of seconds, really. So I'm afraid I didn't hear firsthand what he said.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, Tommy's still here. So Tommy, you can explain to Mona how you feel about the British political system.
Well, first of all, I don't want the Quran banned. Okay, I want it to evolve. I want it to evolve in the same way all the other religions have. I think that there's certain things in there that can be taken out of context, which need changing. They need taking out. Some of them hatred verses that are in there need to be taken out, or not. If they're not taken out, they need to have in brackets, this is no longer a teaching of British Islam. Because when we go abroad and look at Islam, we look at most of the people funding the mosques at the minute over here are Saudi Arabia, the Wahhabi form of Islam. Now, you can't even get past the airport with a Bible in these countries. You're not even allowed a Bible. You've got human rights atrocities going on, and the form of Islam that's being taught in this country is exactly the same as in that country. So we're going to have a problem. We've got blasphemy laws where they want to kill anyone who says anything against their religion. That's the same people. So 90% of the imams in this country can't speak English. 97% of them are educated abroad. Means they're educated in foreign forms of Islam. We need British Muslims to decide what the British form of Islam is. It's not for us to do, but we're hoping that we are putting pressure. Yeah, as you've said, the biggest discussion at the minute is in the Islamic community. Let's hope they come out and they agree that something has to change. And we don't want Muslims banished from this country. We don't want that. We welcome integration. We welcome immigration at a limited number, as long as it does do that and it brings benefits to this country. And the form of Islam that's being taught in this country, I don't see it bringing any benefits at the minute.
Mona.
Well, forgive me, I'm not entirely sure what you mean by British Islam, because or that it should be changed along the same lines as other religions. It's not for me to comment on what other religions are and how they've changed. But the whole purpose of Islam and the Quran is that it's not something that any man has written. That is the word of God, and that it is timeless. It has never changed, and there's no such thing as British Islam or Arab Islam or Egyptian Islam or Pakistani Islam. What perhaps if what you're referring to is that you are concerned that there are individuals within the Muslim community who take verses out of context and use it for their own purposes in order to justify extremist acts, well, then I agree with you, Tony, that measures should be taken to ensure that extremist views are curtailed, and we have anti-terrorism laws to deal with that. But to suggest that we should have an edited version of the Quran that takes out anything, as you say, I'm not even sure if you've read the Quran, but to suggest that an edited version of the Quran to take out verses, as you say, that aren't compatible with British views. I'm not entirely sure where you go with that, really, because it's not for anyone to interfere with a religious text.
Well,
it is certainly for the government to take measures to ensure the community is kept safe and society is kept safe. That's an entirely different issue. I don't know what you mean by saying that there are countries that you can't go past security with a Bible. Because I've visited a number of Middle Eastern countries, including Saudi Arabia. There is no such thing as saying that a religious text is banned, because in fact in Saudi Arabia and in all Islamic countries we actually respect and are aware and believe that the Bible, the Torah in respect of Judaism, are also texts of God. We believe in them, they're referred to in the Quran, and they are certainly not banned in any way, shape or form.
Okay, well, as you've said, the Quran has not changed in 1400 years, yeah? That's where the problem comes from, because the Bible has, the Old Testament and the New Testament, to fit in, to integrate, because Christians used to run around the world killing people in the name of the Bible. They don't anymore because it's all been taken out of it, and it's been evolved and it's changed. And that's what I'm saying. And when you say, I haven't read the Quran, certain verses in the Quran, like never take a Jew or Christian as your friend, lay in wait ready to ambush them. What's that about? Cut off their noses to the front of their faces, look like the back of their neck. All these different things. When you say take them out of context, there's only certain ways you can take. Do not take Jews or Christians as your friends. Lay in wait, ready to ambush them. That cannot be taken out of context. That's what it says.
The last time, can I just say, Tom?
Respect all religions, and that we have our religion and you have ours.
Mona and
Tommy.
Mona and Tommy, can I just say, the last time we discussed the Quran at length with the English Defence League and somebody who was defending Islam, it descended into a huge row and we couldn't hear any of the arguments. So please, let's leave that to one side for a second, because I've got lots of people who want to have their say. So let me go to Glenn in Pontypridd, and then Tommy, Diane and Mona. I'll come back to you in just a second. Glenn in Pontypridd, good afternoon to you, sir.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. Would you ever vote for the EDL if they decided to enter the British system?
Definitely not. I was proud to be in Cardiff the day the English Defence League came, to stand alongside other people in Cardiff who made it clear that the EDL were not welcome in our town.
Okay, so what do you think the EDL stand for, Glenn?
I think they stand for division and hate. I agree with Tommy on one thing, and that was that people feel alienated from politics. And I think that's not because of Muslims or any other ethnic group. I think that's because of the policies of the government of making ordinary people pay for the recession while the rich get away with it. And Tommy's using that anger to blame a minority of people. I find it laughable to say you've got a minority of people trying to take over. By the very nature of being a minority, they're not in a position to do that. I've spent most of my life around a mixture of people. The school I went to had various different ethnic origins, and there was no tension at all. The only reason you find Muslims not integrating into society these days is precisely because you've got groups like the EDL, like the BNP, painting them as different, painting them as evil. And of course, if you're in a group that's being painted as different and evil, then of course you find it difficult to integrate with people.
I'm getting lots of text though, Glenn, I have to say. Lots of text. I've got 5 in front of me answering that question in a positive manner. Would you vote for the EDL? Yes, I would. This is Jim in Exeter. I've been concerned about the growth and advance of militant Islam for the last 15 years. I would vote for the EDL. Our politicians are spineless. Well done, Tommy, says Kevin in Cwmbran. Believe me, there are lots of soldiers and ex-soldiers backing your cause. We are now second-class citizens in our own country. This is just a flavour of them, Glenn. This is another one.
I'm surprised by that.
This is another one. Hang on, one second.
Would
Let me read this.
What Tommy said. I think the evidence of what happened in Cardiff when the EDL were outnumbered by probably 10 to 1 shows that the majority of people oppose their ideas. But the significant thing is when you've got newspapers like The Sun portraying Muslims as different or as evil and as immigrants taking our jobs, then of course that kind of feeling is going to arise. And let's not forget that the newspapers like The Sun are owned by the same people who are benefiting from this current recession, the rich who are being given tax breaks and everything. under the guise of stimulating the economy, while ordinary people are being made to pay. And so those very newspapers have an interest in creating this divide and division, because things like the EDL, they distract us from the real problems, who the real enemy is, the people who are cutting our services, and pushing it on to ordinary working class people who just happen to follow a different religion.
Well, Glenn, seeing as you said that you were present at that demonstration in Cardiff, it's right and proper that I bring Tommy back in. Tommy, did you come to Cardiff, Tommy?
Because we actually travelled to Cardiff to stand shoulder to shoulder with our Welsh brothers and sisters against the building of a Sharia court in Cardiff city centre. So if Glenn supports Sharia courts, which it sounds like he does, then I'm glad he come out and showed his feelings towards Sharia law, that he's supportive of it. We don't want Sharia law. I guarantee you, all the people in Cardiff who were lied to about what we were about weren't even told why we were coming. If they knew the true facts that we were coming to oppose a Sharia law court, a massive Sharia law court in Cardiff city centre that's been given planning, they'd have been there supporting us. They'd have been there opposing it. Because Wales does not need Sharia law. Welsh people do not need Sharia law. They need British law, because we've had it for years and we love it, and we don't need something that is incompatible with our system because of their views on homosexuals, women and us. And Glenn says he's come out, everything Glenn says, I don't think Glenn understands what the English Defence League are about, and he says he come out in 10 to 1. When we were trying to kickstart the Welsh Defence League, although unfortunately it was hijacked by some scumbags from Swansea who were Nazis. We had to close it down because a group of them got on board, and we had to shut it down. And it's sad for the Welsh people, because the Welsh people need the voice as well, which we're happy to. We still have many Welsh people come with us. We have Welsh people within our leadership, but we just come under the banner EDL because it was hijacked by a load of scumbag wrong-uns. So, as I said, I think the people from Wales listening to this radio show will support us. They would have wanted to support us in Cardiff against the building of a Sharia law court.
Rob on the text says, Jace, I haven't voted in the last 3 elections, but if the EDL stand for election, I will vote for them next time. I'm just a normal working class man struggling to make a living. I don't have an ounce of racist blood in my body. The EDL representative Tommy Robinson on your programme speaks a lot of sense. He's a breath of fresh air. Sheila says, hello Jason, good on Tommy. We need someone to speak up for us. The government is frightened to offend any other countries. Glenn in Pontypridd, thank you. I'll go to Edmund in just a second. Diane, can I just bring you in here, given that you're a political commentator? Rob's text is very interesting, isn't it? He hasn't voted in the last 3 elections. Political commentators like yourself and many others very often discuss why people don't turn out at election time. Interesting that he says, I will vote for them next time if the EDL stand for election.
It's a very interesting phenomenon. I think the word alienation has been running through your program. I think a lot of people, and there's no doubt there is a warning sign here for politicians who say, look, there are a lot of people who don't feel engaged in the political process. They are worried, they are concerned. And one of the issues, of course, is this one. However, of course, you can't, and if I may say so, you can't construct an entire political party on a simple proposition of that kind. There has to be much, much more to it. And the danger, of course, is, and we did hear one of your listeners phoning in saying that you'd vote for the EDL because you was disgusted he couldn't vote for the BNP last time. Well, here's the problem, isn't it? Because at the very beginning of the program, Tommy quite rightly said, we distance ourselves from the BNP. But inevitably, what you do is create an umbrella in which all sorts of people come in for their particular reasons. And that is, of course, a problem for the EDL itself.
Okay, we'll go to Edmund in Cardiff in just a moment. It's